Okay, so we've added our water to that now that blue solution, which is a copper to nitrate solution. So what we're going to add to this is a solution of sodium hydroxide. You want to make sure that you record observations for what happens when we add the sodium hydroxide to this beaker. Again, we're measuring a volume, so I'm going to use a graduated cylinder. You never want to pour anything back into a reagent bottle because it could contaminate it. So if I get a little bit over 30 milliliters, it's okay. I'm just going to go ahead and use that. If you got way over the 30 milliliters in our graduated cylinder, you can go ahead and pour that into a waste container. But you never want to pour anything back from the graduated cylinder into the reagent bottle. Okay, so I have 30 milliliters of sodium hydroxide. I'm going to pour that into my beaker. And when I poured that into the beaker, there was a precipitant that formed. So it's kind of like, it looks kind of jelly cloudish like. It's blue, it's like a brighter blue than it was before, but there was a precipitant that happened here. So make sure that you put that in your observations. To this beaker now, we're going to add a stir bar because the next step is to heat it to about its boiling point. You also want to stir this that entire time, so I'm going to add a magnetic stir bar, and I'm also going to add a boiling chip. So our boiling chip is going to come out at the end of the experiment, as is that magnetic stir bar. Okay, and then we're going to heat this solution on our hot plate. So there is a beaker on the back of the hot plate just heating up. That is for a later step. So we're going to move this beaker with our blue stuff, this new blue solid, which you can figure out from the reactions that you're given. What that is, we're going to dehydrate it by heating it up. So we're going to be looking for all of this blue material to turn black. Okay, so I'm going to put that on the hot plate. I'm going to have that stirring. So we're going to let this heat and stir for however long it takes to make sure that we're good just about to its boiling point and all of that blue stuff has turned black. So you can see our material is starting to turn black in there. Turn that around. So once all of that solid has turned black, it's just about at its boiling point. We'll take that off of the heat. Once we take it off of the heat, we'll also take the stir bar out so that the solid can settle, and we're going to decant it after it's cooled off. Now our blue solid that was copper to hydroxide has now been dehydrated to copper to oxide, which is this black material here. So we are finished heating it. I'm going to turn off my hot plate, turn off the stirring, and then just in case this is hot, I want to use some hot gripper things so that I don't burn my hand. So this was about at boiling, so I do want to handle that with care. And then once we have taken it off the hot plate, I'm going to put it on a piece of wire gauze for it to cool off. So this is the wire gauze here. That is so that when I set this beaker, this hot beaker, on this cool countertop, it's not going to crack. Okay, so I'm also at this point going to take out the stir bar because we're finished stirring it for this point. Okay, so you can see that all that blue solid has now turned to black. I'm going to take out my stir bar with a magnet. So this rod thing has a magnet on the end to get that stir bar. So we'll just make sure that we wash that before we put it back anywhere else. And now we're just going to let this cool off. So the next step is to separate the solid from the liquid. So we're going to pour off that solution by doing decanting. So we'll come back in a few minutes once this is completely cool, or cool enough that you can handle it with your gloved hand. I'll show you how to decant. And we are going to decant this into the basic discard. For right now, it's just going to be into this beaker. Then I'll pour that into the larger basic discard in a few minutes. Just to make sure that this does settle enough that we can decant it pretty well, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to stir it with my stirring rod, this glass stirring rod, and then I will let it cool off. Sometimes it kind of just like floats in solution there, but I found if you stir it up a little bit and then let it settle, it works pretty well. Okay, so now we'll just let this cool off and wait to decant.